Welcome to the Dogger Pass podcast. I'm your host, Dan Tom, at Dan Tom MMA, whose analyst work you could find around in this space. But on this here show, the Dogger Pass podcast, well, we break down high-level MMA. That's what we're going to do here tonight. Whenever you're listening to this, hopefully it's before the fight, because we're going to be breaking down UFC on ESPN 72. That's right, UFC Vegas 109 at this point. And of course, I'm going to need one of the finest co-hosts around. Got my man Madlab Mike at Madlab MMA, found at the madlabmma.com. What's up, Mike? How you doing today, buddy?
What's going on, buddy? What's the word, Thunderbird? We're back for another week. Believe it or not, last week, bro, was fun. It was actually a fun card, action-packed card. Sometimes those are the cards that we do like.
Yeah.
We had a really good week. You won the bet, so I gotta. Yeah, we had a good week, man. I did. Outside of our wager bet, I did have a good week. We lost one wager. We should have had like a 7.5 unit night. We ended up having a little bit over 4 units. We only lost one bet, and it was on the right side. It was Tara over 1.5. He ended it sooner, but we hit both of our boxing bets. We had one of our subscribers win the $100 single entry. So we had a great night. So we're looking to roll it back. But a bet is a bet. I have a feeling I'm going to be going through this fucking single malt scotch very quickly. And this ain't even my bottle. This is Anthony's bottle over in my business partner, best friend over in the other office. So I'm going to probably have to buy him one. So cheers to you. What was the bet again?
It was Duncan and Rebecca. I took 2 dogs. One I whiffed bad on, the other hit, and that was Duncan. So that was the only pick you got wrong too, I think, all night. I think you got like literally every other pick right too, which was crazy. So
can't fucking believe it, dude.
He fought for your money, bro.
Here's to you, buddy. Here's to you, and here's an early birthday fucking cocktail for you.
Oh man, cheers. Yeah, this probably the we won't sidetrack, but this is the last show of my 30s, and the universe has blessed me. Like, you know what, Dan, working and getting some picks, hunting some dogs. That's not enough. I'm gonna make you sick. So yeah, I don't know what I'm fighting off here, but apologies if I'm not in my normal tone. But man, I'm ready to be like a dog on a bone when it comes to trying to find some underdogs, which I feel like the lines almost force you to do. But before we jump to this card, I just want to say, dude, I was looking at your slate as far as like all the bets you hit, and it felt like anybody who's played Tony Hawk Pro Skater back in the day, and you hit the grind, and then you hit the other grind, and then you start building up the points, and like that's how you build up points. And you tease your friends like, you're getting greedy, man, you're getting greedy, and they want to keep the trick going and keep the points going. At a certain point, they do themselves in because they'd have the hot hand, and that's what it felt like. Because the only one you missed was the over in the main, and it was one of those like last minute ads or something, like you said too, to where it's like, and who could blame you, dude? Like, if you're hitting that in boxing and MMA, like, yeah, you had the hot hand on Saturday, bro. So,
bro, you know what the crazy thing was about, like, when you're gonna have either a bad night or a good night.
Yeah,
I knew I was gonna have a good night when in boxing, Regis Prograis was a -900 favorite, right? And people were all over him saying he's gonna win by knockout. This guy's coming up to fight him. This is a fight to get him back on track. And I was like, I've watched Regis Prograis' last couple fights. He's looked fucking terrible. And I was like, he's like, not, it's almost like who's the guy that we always talk about that the fall from grace, Renan Barão.
Yes,
it's almost like a Renan Barão, a fall from grace, but not so good. But he was coming. Then all of a sudden he had a major drop off, and I was like, no, he's going to win the fight, but he's going to win the fight by decision.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, oh, you're crazy. So he did win the fight by decision, but through that fight, he got knocked down like 4 fucking times, bro. And I was going, dude, how the fuck this guy lose? I can't. -900. He's going to lose this fight. He ended up squeaking by the decision. But when I got through that, I was like, we're going to have a good night. Because that was one of the first bets that hit. And I was like, we're actually going to have a good night. I actually know if I usually lose my first bet of the night, I know we're in. Like it's done. Yeah. If I hit my first bet of the night, I know we're going to have a good
That's fun. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that would explain my logic too, because I have a weird luck where like literally, like not even hyperbole, 95% of the time, my first bet of the night doesn't hit. Boy, which had me worried with that Vieira where I took the trap again with the jiu-jitsu guy, man. And that was terrible. And I gotta eat my crow too on my park pick, man. Sometimes you're just way wrong. It was another, and even on stuff that like you think like, think that at least a little bit of ball on, and you whiff big. And there's another one of those calls coming up when we'll talk about the Lucindo fight, or her last fight. But yeah, I whiffed big on the park thing. And again, I did say that the rightful favorite was probably going to happen is Tyra's probably going to sub him. And even though I think he could be the better wrestler, that doesn't mean he won't get his back taken, which he probably will. The question is what happens if he survived. He didn't. Tyra cut through him with a knife through hot butter. Tyra looked great, man. He's destined for the elite. I only just wish we saw more from him. And perhaps maybe we'll see him paired with, some of the other flyweights that we'll be breaking down for this weekend's fight card. But I was able to just barely scratch out a win over here with the parlays that we hit on the show and gave out on the show. And then I ended up hitting a Duncan live bet. They still had him at plus 140. I was thinking about firing at plus 180, but they still had him at plus 140 at the end of round one. That was competitive, even though
were we texting?
So
were we
I
texting
believe we're
at
probably
that point
texting.
when you
Probably.
Yeah, because you told me I took a live bet. Yeah.
And that's what ended up saving me, because I sure as shit, again, even though I made a bold pick and was putting my money where my mouth is, which you think, I'd get some credit for that, but I'm being realistic, man. I don't think, I'm not depending on a guy like Park, right, to save my night. So I took that live bet on Duncan, and glad I did. Just barely edged out a win, but I also had to eat micro for my really bad pick there. So,
bro. No, because to be fair, bro, I got to back you up on this. To be fair, you said the most probable outcome, quote, most probable outcome is going to be Tara. You know what I mean? So when you're in a position like you're in, when you have 2 months of picking the main event right, you should go out on a limb once in a while.
Yeah.
You could afford to.
Right. And my reads might have been whiffed there, but not just my pick with the Duncan pick, folks, but in my defense, I do show my work, right? Like where the reads were, what did I say? Duncan was showing some anti-southpaw techniques. And what I talk about specifically, I said the rear kicks, front kicks, knees, and how he counterbalances the right hand. He basically, they call that the southpaw double attack. And when an orthodox fighter does stuff to southpaws, that's a big deal. Like when they do stuff to say that like that the southpaw usually does. And Duncan was doing that. Was he not? Was he not, Mike? He was playing off the rear knee, the front teep, and the tie kick in conjunction with the right hand. And he didn't know which one was coming, which one was going to the body, what he was dipping into. And that's kind of what the play was. So,
what a great fight. What a great fight.
It was a great fight, man. It was such a great fight. I don't think, I don't know.
What was the other great fight? There was another great fight on the card.
Ribovich and Brenner. Ribovich and Brenner right before.
What another great fight, dude.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, so it was crazy, man. So yeah, fun card, much more fun than we thought, hopefully for you guys too. And this card we're gonna get to right now, actually, UFC on ESPN 72, UFC Fight Night, UFC Vegas 109, all the iterations of the names. Of course, it's another middleweight headliner. We got Anthony Hernandez and Roman Dolidze in the main event. Of course, Anthony Hernandez, he's going to be your favorite, minus 350. Dolidze, not too far from his opener, plus 270, your underdog, 5-round fight. So the totals are set for 3.5 rounds with the over 3.5, minus 130, under 3.5 rounds, plus 100. This would arguably be the median odds. It's another big chalk kind of event. But I feel like parlays are dangerous, and we'll get to the fights by fights. But Mike, we did speak a little bit on this. We didn't end up seeing where each other fell, so this will be a surprise to both of us. But there was some trepidation, like a lot of these fights, again, like I just alluded to, where, okay, yeah, I'm not surprised that they're a favorite. I'm not necessarily surprised that they're a moderate favorite. But when we start getting into 3-1 territory or higher, you got to ask questions. And Dolidze, he's 4-2 inside the smaller apex. Again, the fighting terrain does matter, folks. It's not an end-all, be-all, but I like to bake it into my analysis and capping. Whereas Fluffy 4-0 inside that UFC apex as well. Both guys' style arguably could be suited for an action and grappling encouraging environment. However, this one could come down to who is the better wrestler. And that's where, I spoiler alert, still ended up leaning toward Fluffy. But Mike, I'm curious where you ended up leaning toward and why here.
Yeah, this fight. There's a couple fights on this card that I feel this way about, but I called Dan Tom, and when he answered, I was like, "Hear me out." You know what I mean? Because I was watching film and I was like trying to make a justification for Dolidze, and the reason being is that like I like Fluffy Hernandez, and I know a lot of people look at him like he's the cheat code for the division. He knows what he's good at. He's high pace. He's looking to spam takedowns. When he gets on top of you, he drains your energy level, and then he takes over from there. And what's not to like about that, especially in a drafting setting or just like when a guy can be exposed that way. Anthony, Fluffy Hernandez is a great avenue to take, but there's also a part of me that feels like he is an overachiever. Like he's really good, but he's going to get, X marks the spot. It's going to happen soon with him. And when you look at all the avenues that he can be like, he could be submitted. Like, yeah, I understand he submitted Rodolfo Vieira, and we've talked about that already. How my sister could have submitted him at that point. He was so gassed. Doesn't make him a better grappler. But the fact of the matter is, like, there are holes in his game. He is tender to the body. Me and Dan Tom talked about this. He's got a loose midsection, almost like, I hate to say, but like Derek Lewis, the same thing. Derek Lewis can be dropped to the body. He's got a very tender midsection. There are places where he can be exposed. And I just feel like Dolidze is a guy that is going to, not can, I think he's going to give him trouble in the opening moments of the fight. The first couple rounds, I think it could be really, really dangerous because you're looking at a guy who I feel is the better striker. He's got more power. I think his grappling is a little bit overlooked because he tends to want to stay on the feet and trade a little bit more than his grappling, when his grappling is really good. He's got a very good leg series. He's got that old school grappling style where he'll go for leg locks and stuff like that. Like, he doesn't ignore the lower extremities. So he's kind of dangerous. He's got a top heavy game when he gets on top of you. Like, the guy is a good grappler. He just chooses, almost like Gilbert Burns did at one time. Now all of a sudden he chooses to stand and he chooses to trade. He likes a little bit more of chaos, and that's okay. But if it boils down to it and they got to grapple, like, I don't want people to think like Anthony Hernandez is a lock to win those grappling exchanges, because he's not. The problem I keep running into is the final answer. Like, you could take all these different paths, and when it's time to get to the final conclusion, what road are you going to take? And it's just, I don't know if Dolidze's conditioning is going to be able to keep up with Hernandez down the stretch. So for me, I think the danger zone for Dolidze winning is in the first couple rounds. I think he's very dangerous there. I think he can drop him with a body shot. I think he can put him in a couple bad positions. But if this thing hits over 3 rounds and it goes to the championship 4th or 5th round, I think Fluffy ends up drowning him. So I'm gonna go with Fluffy Hernandez in this fight. But I do have some major pause in this fight. I really do. I think people are overlooking Dolidze a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, man. The spot I was looking at was the over 3.5, which moved up to -130. And I'm glad I didn't fire on it, because the way I ended up wanting to play this thing, that would have really thrown it off, unit and coverage wise. But here's what it comes down to me, and we'll get to the betting format here in a second. But as far as analysis goes, so when I look closer at the grappling, there's something I notice is that Dolidze, he only goes for one guillotine, and that's when Jack Hermanson shoots on him. Now, not a lot of guys shoot on him. So it's one of those things, again, where it's like, how good is there, when I was talking about Bryce Mitchell, right? And, I was wrong on that pick, but the analysis was spot on, and even the bet wasn't terrible because it factored in, it was a Saeed finish only, right? So we didn't lose money on that bet if you took that. Because, again, the grappling is good enough to do certain things, but I wasn't sold on his finishing ability. And if, Saeed Nurmagomedov was smarter, we saw him out grappling and getting more dominant in back positions actually on Bryce Mitchell in that fight. Technically, he just would be stupid and would lose it and get greedy, and as well as, gassing. And with Dolidze, he's so dangerous, and he is dangerous, that, guys just kind of want to stay away. Right. And we'll talk about this when we talk about like, Andre Fili's guillotine loss, where there's certain losses where it's like, you don't want to make an excuse or anything, because it's like, it's a real brain fart moment. You still look bad. It's not really an excuse, but like, sometimes it's like, oh, that guy totally thought he was okay. Because, Fili, trains a team alpha male, hashtag team guillotine or whatever, right? So he sees the guillotine all day, and he was acting like he sees the guillotine all day and was not worried about it, and all of a sudden it's on. Whereas Jack Hermanson, he's heel hooking Kelvin Gastelum off the bat. Like, he's one of the few middleweights that can leg lock, right? Like, that shouldn't throw somebody off. But he almost looked too comfortable where he was like, and it was a beautiful chain and transition. It was like a third or fourth submission attack. Like, it was beautiful. I'm not taking anything away that Roman Dolidze did great, but it was almost like Jack was just like, oh, I'm fine here, until he wasn't, and he got, a calf slicered. And those are kind of more the submissions that Dolidze goes to, and he'll even, go and drop from like a takedown attempt. Like, he probably won't get it, but maybe he can still readjust, and he'll like do the drop down thing, or he's just willing to kind of give position. And I think that's why his takedown percentage is so low, and why his, counter wrestling is not that impressive. And I know that he's going to be training. By the way, he trains at Extreme Couture. So, for anybody saying, oh, Dan only picks Extreme Couture fighters or this or that, not that really anybody says that. But I actually, will do state my biases, and I don't, always go in the direction of it. And this is another case here, because even though I know that Eryk Nixick's going to have a great game plan, Eryk Nixick's going to see what me and Mike sees as far as Fluffy is weak to the body. And Dolidze has a really good southpaw kick, that could really do some damage. At the end of the day, we're having to depend on Roman Dolidze. He's like, I don't know if anybody's seen those like CKY videos, that guy Rake Yon, wow, mustard, wow, like, or, Hellboy, you're so crazy, Hellboy. Like, he's like the Rake Yon of MMA. He is just a wild man, like Roman Dolidze. Like, he's just one of those guys where it's like, you hear the corners just shouting like to do the right thing, and he's just doing his own thing. He's just a fucking wild man, so he's really hard to trust. So I don't blame anybody sprinkling him in round 1 or 2. But again, it was the wrestling positions where when Roman does flip the script and actually offensively grapple like his corner wants him to, and gets guys on top, guys are able to get up because they tripod and give their back. And I don't know if you saw anything, but I watched Roman Dolidze's tape, and I didn't see him jump for a back once, and that's what Fluffy does. Fluffy will give it when Fluffy ends up on, on bottom, he will give a little bit of back exposure. And that almost got him in trouble in the Brendan Allen fight in the later rounds, right? Remember that. And I'm like, Roman Dolidze doesn't do that. He doesn't even, like I said, he doesn't even really go for front chokes, right? Whereas when Roman Dolidze gets in those positions, the tripod position, which was a key crux of my pick here, he gives it up all the time, because he likes like looking between his legs. Can I go for a leg lock, right? And he'll kind of hang out there almost at a detriment to where guys will start punting him in the head stupidly, like Nasruddin Imavov, right? And guys, not just in the middleweight division, I would argue Fluffy more than anybody, especially since Khabib Nurmagomedov is no longer around doing his Dagestani spin cycle, which is different than Fluffy Hernandez's spin cycle. But his spin cycle of transitions from front chokes to relentless wrestling rides, he's one of the few guys who cradles, which I fucking love and wish more people did. Like, he makes his home there. Like, he is the last guy, not just a middleweight, again, in any division you want to do this to, tripod and go on all fours to. And Roman Dolidze loves going to that position, man. And the small cages are going to encourage grappling. So yeah, unless he blasts them early, I feel like it's Fluffy Hernandez here. And even though Roman's tough, and you got to imagine his submission defense is good and stuff, you really look at it, he's actually been rocked a decent amount in his fights. Like, he's not beyond getting rocked, whether it's like Trevin J. Giles or Imavov. Obviously, it's not a bad look. That guy, is really proving his mettle.
Trevin J. Giles.
Jay Giles, I know I was called Trevin Giles that, but so anyways, I see a Fluffy here. So Mike, check this. I know this is the talk everyone's doing. Roman Dolidze rounds 1 and 2, and then Fluffy Hernandez rounds 3, 4, and 5. You could
we talked about that. Me and you talked about that early on when we discussed this fight, like the paths. The only reason why, personally, for me, I'm probably going to stay away from that is because when so much of the public catches on and goes into that, I just assume all of a sudden it's going to be a flop. There's so many times that I literally tell my subscribers, like, the most obvious bet, everyone's all over it, this is a lock, and I'm like, guys, stay away from it and watch it crumble. and it fucking crumbles. It happens 80% of the time. It's when money starts flying in one way, I always have the thing in my mind, what can possibly fucking go wrong? Vegas wins. So, and I tell them that all the time. They're like, oh, this is the lock bet, right? And by knockout. I'm like, yeah, it should be. That's what it says on paper. That's what all metrics are pointing to. That's what everyone's jumping on, which means it's not going to happen. So that's after me and you talked, I wanted it. But then when I heard like everybody's thinking the same fucking thing we were thinking, I was like, you know what? Now I'm staying away from it.
Yeah, I know what you mean, especially after like me whiffing on the obvious submission props, right? But I don't know. I'm a big fan of round props, and I've been pretty disciplined. Like I'm such a fan of these things, you don't really get too many chances. Like it was almost to a point where I was like, any excuse to bet 3, 4, and 5 main events, I'm doing it because those are some of the biggest numbers you get in MMA, and you don't got to put a lot, right? And Fluffy Hernandez is just one of those fighters. It's more of a question as, Dolidze, right? Because it's like the one time we did see him survive 5, it's like he probably shouldn't even survive that 5. It was a really like bad performance in a way by Nasruddin Imavov that got me picking against him for a couple fights after that because
Imavov gets tired. Yeah, Imavov gets tired.
Yeah, so it let like Dolidze back into that fight basically. So it's like we still haven't seen him against a guy who's not going to do that, much less a guy who's going to grapple him. And Imavov and so many of these guys, whether you're watching the tape or looking at the stats, they're not shooting takedowns on him, right? And grappling, even the grapplers, grappling is the most tiring thing to everybody, even wrestlers, right? So yeah, my thought is maybe there's a way. I'm like I could do like 0.17 on Dolidze round 1, round 2, for over 2 unit returns, and then doing Scottie Pippen's 0.33, 0.33, 0.33 on 3, 4, 5 for Hernandez. That's basically a 1.3 unit exposure. And you just need one of those to hit for profit. Maybe you do that in conjunction with here's what I ended up firing on. So I'm going to do the Dolidze round 1 and 2 anyways as a hedge. It's the question is, do I want to do Hernandez 3, 4, and 5? But I just took Hernandez money line with a parlay leg that about because it was one that I really felt really strong on. And later on in the card, we'll get to that. So yeah, that's where I'm looking for the Hernandez fight here.
Sounds good. We're on the same page again.
All right, and hopefully I don't upset any future guests. Spoiler alert, folks, we might have some future guests for some of the pay-per-views coming your way. We'll talk more about that. And also, speaking of our producer, who I forgot to mention again, Dayton, what's up, dude? So we don't always have a Benji Boy Dog of the Week, but we are going to have a Dayton's Dog of the Week. So hold on that, folks. But there'll be at least one of those a card. We want Dayton to be in the show. We're looking for a way to get him in, get his opinion in here. We have really fun banter with Dayton before and after the show. So we think you guys will like him too. So stay tuned for that.
I almost wish we can expose some of it, but we can't because we'd be fucking blacklisted.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. You guys would not look at us the same. But let's go to on that note, let's go to the co-main event here. We've got Steve Erceg, who was supposed to face Hyung-Sung Park last week, but Hyung-Sung Park filled one hole. So the UFC has to fill another. They sent in Osbourne, who is plus 400 as the underdog, whereas Erceg is your favorite at minus 600 firmly. Totals in this fight, 1.5 rounds. Expecting action in a 3-round fight. The over 1.5 minus 180, the under 1.5 plus 150. Before I throw it to you, Mike, Erceg 0-0 against UFC level southpaws. He does say that one of his main training partners is a southpaw, and he feels good against that matchup. For whatever that's worth, we'll see, because O'Day is a dangerous southpaw who can come forward and counter. And inside that Apex, Erceg's 1-0, I believe, in that Matt Schnell TKO win. O'Day 4-1. He's done pretty well inside the UFC Apex. What do you got for this one, Mike?
I mean, you got to be shitting me with this price tag. I mean, minus 600 for Erceg is very rich, guys. I know we all want to believe, like, Astro Boy, he comes in with the demeanor and, you don't expect it. He's got that like Ryan Hall appeal to him. But the fact of the matter is like, has he had some really good performances? Yeah, he lost 3 straight, and you got to give him the benefit of the doubt who he lost to. He lost to Pantoja, which was honestly a super close fight. He lost to Kai Car France. He lost to all top-level guys his last 3 fights. But the fact of the matter is like minus 600 on a guy who you got to start being a little concerned about, because this is a guy who, yes, while he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, he's not the most athletic guy in the world. He's not the sharpest guy in the world. He doesn't have the most elusive defensive capabilities with good head movement and stuff like that. He can be hit. He does take damage. He utilizes his durability a little bit to stay in fights. And then he also utilizes fundamentally sound boxing. He's got very good boxing, even though it's not fast, even though it's not nothing where you can be like, wow, look how beautiful that combination was, punches and bunches. He knows when to throw, how to connect. He knows his range finders. Like, he's solid. Like, Erceg is a solid fighter, but you got to start being concerned if some of these fights are starting to take a toll on him. When you look at Ode Osbourne on the other side, for me, despite his bludgeon of issues on his resume, a lot of them are self-inflicted. This is a guy who is a good fighter. Like, Ode Osbourne is a good fighter, but he tends to be very self-inflicted at times. He puts himself in positions sometimes where he doesn't need to be in. I look at him as the more athletic fighter. I look at him as an issue for Erceg on the feet because he's faster. He's a little bit more in and out. He's got a little bit more elusive movement when it comes to his lateral movement and his in and out movement, where Erceg's a little more flat-footed. You know what I mean? But the problem with him is his durability. I think Erceg does carry a little bit of pop. He does catch you at the end of his punches. So, you know, I can see that an issue there. But ultimately, it's like, if Ode Osbourne fights a clean fight, if he comes out and fights a clean fight, and he stays out of harm's way, and he doesn't put himself in and shoots himself in the foot and put himself in these liability positions, he can actually beat Steve Erceg. You know what I mean? But the problem is, do you trust Ode Osbourne in 15 minutes not to make one of those mistakes? Put him in himself in a bad position? And that's where I'm falling here. Like, you know, it's like I want to find a reason to pick Ode because I believe he's got the talent to win the fight. But sometimes, and I'm not disrespecting him, but sometimes I don't feel like he has the brain to win the fight. So, you know, and he does gas out, and he's shown the ability to be caught in finishing positions, not bad positions. He's been shown to be putting himself in finishing type style positions. So I got to go Erceg here, but I'm not happy about it. Like, I'm really, really not. I think that line is absurd. But I think the rightful favorite is Erceg. I have no confidence there. Like, I have a lot of questions about Erceg now too.
Yeah. And this is one I believe we actually kind of spoke a little bit about too, Mike. And I like Erceg here, but not like a minus 600. I picked against Ode last time, despite interviewing before the fight, and you know, you can only get so much, right? But like, there are times where you're like, oh, this person's in a genuinely good place, and I see what my colleagues mean when like people who are on the reporter beat, like for their main thing, much more than I am. They have this sample size where it's like, you know, I remember I was on an island when I felt like when I picked Eddie Alvarez to upset RDA for the title, and you know, interviews and talk is talk. But I remember all my, you know, reporter colleagues on the ground going, dude, Eddie seems locked in this week, dude. He is with it, you know, like, you know, there are certain times where that is just, you've seen it enough to where you can tell when the guy's bullshitting, right? And he's saying, oh, it's the best camp of my life. And you can tell who's locked in. Now, does that mean they're going to win the fight? Like, of course not. But these things are interesting. And Ode definitely, despite his corner, you know, his being backed into a corner when I was interviewing him, he just seemed like he was in a really good headspace, knew what he had to do. I wonder if he was in camp with Albazi recently, because that's one of the guys he trains with, Albazi, Cody Garbrandt under Dewey Cooper. And, you know, they don't really work with Syndicate or Extreme. They kind of just do their own thing, the PI and so forth. So it's hard to keep, you know, any like tabs on him. But yeah, man, if he came in here, if he's been staying in shape, could he give Erceg not just a hard fight early, but like, because, you know, even we've seen Ode fade, you know, even in a full camp, but like, can he get into Erceg's head? Because Erceg, conversely, on his interview was like, well, and again, talk is talk, but I do like when the talk matches up to what I'm seeing on tape. Whereas I'm like, Erceg, I know I didn't pick him to win. I don't know why he was in that fight with Moreno. I didn't like it for him. But that being said, he really did not look like, you know, fighting up to his potential, even in that spot, and all those things considered. And he admitted, he was like, yeah, I got in my own head on that fight and da-da-da-da. And he was just very honest. And I appreciate that, you know. And does that mean it guarantees a fix for him? We'll see. But I do like that he was honest about that. And I think we get a better version of Erceg here, because one of the other things he was saying in the interview that I was telling you, Mike, was like, oh, he's like, I really want to get back to my grappling and my submission finishing. And you look at the pathway, that kind of makes the most sense against O'Day. Unfortunately, the odds makers got wind of it too, because usually it's the decision and knockout props that are the cheaper props for Erceg. This time, the cheapest one around is the submission prop from the last time I looked, which would kind of piss me off. Still waiting for it to open in other houses to see. But at early houses, I believe Erceg by sub is one of the cheaper lines, which is crappy, because I wanted that's what I wanted in a round robin. And if I put a plus 175 or now plus 165, I'm sure I'll get it for a slightly better number. And I'm sure y'all can get a better numbers. Remember, I play crap numbers. I'm in Vegas. I don't get rounds 2-3 combo, round 3 decision. Oh, what a cleanup I would do if I had those. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so yeah, that's my take. I got Erceg by sub here, and I'm gonna hope that they put a little more meat on the bone. That's really disappointing what they lined it. Anything else on this one, Mike, or should we move on to the next fight?
Yeah, man, I think we're good. I think we're so far we're on the same page.
All right, well, let's go to this fight. Let's see if we like the favorite or we like the dog here. We got Iasmin Lucindo. She is facing Angela Hill. Lucindo's your favorite, minus 195. The comeback on the veteran underdog Angie Hill, plus 165. Totals for this one, again, they're stacking the castle walls, folks. If you're trying to get clever and go totals in this fight, which I still feel like you can. You can't do it for the women's fights. They've stacked it way too high. Minus 550 over 2.5, under 2.5 plus 400. It's to the point where over players now got to start looking at the unders, because they're almost making you look there. Now, Lucindo, before I hand this one off to you, she is 2-0 inside that apex. Hill is 3-5, though. Even though I'm not as big as a lot of my media colleagues are on the Angie Hill was robbed every fight train, if we're being honest, it could read 5-3 on that record, with certain decisions going certain ways, even unanimous decisions. Her last loss being a lot closer than it was. We've talked about Tabitha Ricci and her booty burglar ways, Mike. You know all about that. And yeah, that fight was that fight. You could have actually arguably scored for Hill if you're going by a letter of the law criteria there for damage. But yeah, I just want to say before I hand it off to you, though, Lucindo, I took her against the Lemos, thinking that a lot of it was an age pick. And again, whenever Dan Tom gets on the, I'm like, oh, MMA gamblers love betting young people and unders. And I show up like Steve Buscemi. How do you do, fellow kids? And I lay my under bets, or I bet against the old person. Of course that loses, right? Like, I'm such a jinx when it comes to those. And this felt like one of those fights, but there was also bad analytical reads that I got to own up to. And I thought Lucindo was going to be able to wrestle down Lemos, which was not the case. And I know she's underrated there and has her own, black belt and skills there. But when she gets on bottom, it's tough. The problem was she didn't get on bottom. She was able to defend and re-wrestle and get on top. And Angela Hill's been improving in that area, Mike, but is it enough to get the win here? What do you got?
Yeah, so one thing I always talk about with aging fighters, one thing you can't do is, obviously we can't stop Father Time. We know that. Our brain will tell us. I remember when I do it all the time. When I walk into the gym, sometimes I'll see this 27, 28-year-old kid doing something. I'll be like, dude, I would fucking smoke that kid, when I was his age. Just that. But the fact of the matter is I'm not his age. And even though my brain is telling me that I can still go in there and do that, chances are I probably can't. But when you have a competitive mindset, your mind tells you, I remember, it's muscle memory. I remember when I was able to do all these things with ease. And then when you go and do it, you're like, wait a minute, my brain is telling me what to do, but my body's not reacting. So how do you nullify that as a fighter or as a professional athlete? You need to alter your game. And I find that more times than not, the fighters that just refuse to alter their game as they get older fail at that. The people who decide to alter their game and build around their age instead of trying to keep up with their age, they build around their age, are the ones who have success. Now, when you look at Angela Hill when she was younger, now 41, 42 years old, when you look at her when she was younger, She was never a big cracker. She, wasn't one to sit there and really sit down on her punches and knock you out, but she was fast, she was elusive, she had good striking, and she won on points. And that's what would get her into trouble sometimes, because when you're a points fighter, sometimes, yeah, you can accumulate all these points, but you can have a fighter that's actually sitting down on their punches or maybe securing a takedown or two. They could steal the fight from you. So even though the numbers on paper are showing you, wait, Angela Hill, she's up on the numbers. How'd she lose the fight? They're also looking at the other optics. There are other optics involved. So that I see. But if you look at their track record now, as she's getting older, all of a sudden now Angela Hill is starting to like wrestling a little bit. She's starting to like rapping a little bit. She has 9 takedowns in her last 4 fights. That's completely uncharacteristic of her. This girl didn't want to touch the ground for, majority of her career. She wanted to stay on the feet. So with that, not only comes offensive wrestling, but also comes the ability when you're in the wrestling room to wrestle and nullify takedowns and learn how to counter wrestle. It all just comes naturally at that point because you're doing it so much. It's just reps over reps over reps. So now she comes into a fight with a 50-50 mindset. She comes into a fight where, yeah, I still have speed because she is very genetically gifted for her age. So she still does have the speed. She has the wherewithal and the know-how from the veteran savvy that she has. But now she also has the confidence in her wrestling, saying, if I really want to take this to the ground, I can. And if she wants to take this to the ground, I've been in the wrestling room enough now because I'm kind of gearing my game towards it a little more to counter wrestle. So then you say, okay, well, where are the 2 factors in this fight? One of them is obviously age. You have a 27-year-old against a 42-year-old. That's never a good thing for Angela Hill. But then I go down to me, the most important thing that she evolved her game now around her age is the cage hours, the experience, the just the being in certain positions, knowing where you are in the fight. A lot of times when people are fighting, they have no idea if they're winning or losing. They go back to the corner. You'll hear them say, who won that round? When you're in there so many hours, you get a vibe on when you need to win a round. You get a vibe on when you need to, do certain things, when you need a takedown. Like you've put the hours in. You've been against all these different, levels of opposition and all these different styles. And I think this is one of the dogs on the card that's extremely live. I do. I think Angela Hill is going to be able to squeak this one out in a fight where you'll probably be puckering your ass cheeks, because normally when Angela Hill goes to the cards, she makes it a little too close for comfort. And I think this is going to be a too close for comfort a fight for sure. But I think she's very, very live here. So I'm going to go Angela Hill by decision.
Nice. Yes, I agree too. Again, when I say I get the shitty lines, I only have one house that allows me to play these split props. Mem, and they don't let me play. They take the women's ones off the board, so I don't even get those, folks. Like, I play with the crappiest lines possible over here. So that would obviously be in my round robin, but I pondered a round robin earlier, and I believe I put Hill by decision in there, and that's like over 2-1. I think that's got value, to be honest, because Lucindo is durable, even though she doesn't, she looks bad off her back. And yeah, like, I hate to use the F word, Mike. It's usually followed by the C word, fraud checked, that everybody loves to use right now, right? But man, I feel like Lucindo could be dancing toward that area. You see certain things and certain habits, right? Like, what I like about Angie Hill is she trains with kind of like what I was saying about Piero Rodriguez last week. Like, American Top Team used to be the hot spot for the women, right? Back when Yin Jacek was around, and it's a good training ground, I imagine. I'm sure they got a lot of girls there, but Angela Hill's got like always had a decent slew to work with in the San Diego Alliance area. And I like that. I generally like that, right? It's not an end all be all, but I think that it's really important for women to train with other women. You get a real high variable when you're training with men. Let's just say you don't know what kind of training they're getting, right? What kind of challenges they're getting. Too much, not enough, right? So on and so forth. And Lucindo looks like the classic. Like, I don't really, see her training with anybody notable at her gym, much less any females. She's usually like next to males and stuff. And like, I don't know what kind of training she's really getting. And I don't know what kind of black belt she's claiming to have after seeing her off her back in her last fight. And again, Lemos is underrated there. Like, I'm not trying to disrespect her, especially in hindsight, much less pre-sight. But yeah, that really worried me. Whereas Hill, not only in the wrestling but the judo, right? San Diego doesn't also just have like a hotbed of women to train with. But from Liz Carmouche, Yoder, Kat Zingano, Jessica Penne, whatever. But it also has a lot of high-level judokas that people like, even Paddy Pimblett. Paddy fucking Pimblett, fucking hell, Mike. He goes all the way down to San Diego to train his judo. They got high-level judo guys. My guy Eduardo Tellez, the Turtle Master, I believe he still got his school down there. So there's like high-level grappling and wrestling and judo down there as well. And she's been training all that. And if you look at Lucindo, most of hers come from the clinch, her takedowns, and they involve a lot of foot play, which is very much judo, clinch and foot play. So I think that stacks up really well for Angie Hill. It's going to be a close fight. And at plus 175, I fired a unit on there. And again, I'm going to have her by decision in the round robin. More than likely here. But yeah, we're on the same. We're on the same. Wow, this Angie Hill could potentially be a Benji Boy Dog of the Week. We might have one this week. Well, we'll see where we end up. But let's put her on the maybe pile, huh, Mike?
Yeah, I like her this week. I do. Like I said, it's about the evolution, man. It's all about the evolution of the game when you get older. And like, who's somebody who kind of evolved a little bit like that, not on this level, but do you remember when Andre Arlovski, his chin just was dust? Like it was literally dust, right? And then all of a sudden he had a resurgence and people are like, oh my God, he grew a chin, like all of it. And he was like hanging in. That was for no other reason, but he just altered his striking style. He altered his approach. He realized, like, look, I'm not as fast as I was. I don't carry the things I used to carry. I need to alter my approach. I need to, take it back a gear. And he did that, and he became more of a patient, calculated fighter. And even though he was spotty, win or lose, he would have much better account of themselves. He would be rolling with. It's not that they grow a chin all of a sudden overnight. It's you put yourself in a position to roll out of position. You're not taking these shots cleanly anymore. You're not stepping onto them anymore. So all these little things that you can do when you get older will help you patch up holes that appear as you get older. And Angela Hill's been doing a great job in doing
100%. And they don't age the same as they do in the women's as they do in the men's. The age isn't as big of a number, right? They're still in their Randy Couture eras where they, you can still be in your 40s and still win some fights, where they kind of are in the evolution spectrum. But let's push on to the next fight. We could have a live dog in this next fight. We got Andre Fili taking on Christian Rodriguez. Christian Rodriguez, C-Rod is your favorite, minus 235. The comeback on Touchy Fili, plus 190. Totals at 2.5 rounds with the over, minus 125. The under, plus 285. So they are giving respect to a finish potential, which I'd say is fair. Both fighters, especially Fili, who we've seen more, can be stopped. And although this doesn't account for all of his wins, what I like about fighters with a big sample size, Mike, is when you can zoom out and look for some common threads. And a lot of the common threads in Fili's losses, especially the stoppage losses, are fighters who can enforce their game, right? They have, if you're building a fighter, you're like, how much do I allot for defense, for strength, for submissions, for wrestling? He's losing to the guys who put like it all in like KO power, like Brito or Yair Rodriguez with some crazy one hitters, right? Or like, stamina guy, pace guys like Max Holloway, who's going to pace him and guillotine him, which like Fili was actually the favorite in that fight and was actually known for his guillotine going into that fight, which was crazy. And of course, Fili would get guillotined again, which, recently a fight I just kind of talked about, where I don't want to make excuses for him, but I also don't want to condemn him too hard, because it really did seem like just one of those fights where you're just chilling on top. And you could see he's just like, how did I let that happen? But otherwise, if you don't blow him out, if you aren't one of those fighters who have that blowout potential, you can still beat him for sure, but he does tend to make it a close fight, closer than the odd, closer than some scorecards predict. Sometimes not, but yeah, he is dogged in there. And before I toss it to you, Mike, Fili is 2-3-1 in that Apex, so a mixed bag there. And wow, I don't have anything written to C-Rod. I'll get you that number while I toss it to Mike. What do you got for this fight, Mike?
Yeah, this is an interesting fight for me, because here's the one key thing I want to bring up to everybody when we talk about Christian Rodriguez. And Dan Tom, since they can't answer, you're going to have to answer it. What do we call Christian Rodriguez? What is his nickname?
C-Rod?
Yeah, but what's his nickname as far as what do the masses kind of call him? The what?
Oh yeah, prospect.
The prospect killer.
Yeah, kills the undefeated guys. Yeah.
Okay, so right, think about what that name means. The prospect killer. This is a guy who goes in and he beats prospects. all the guys he's beaten, they have 1 or 2 fights in the UFC. These guys aren't, I mean, these guys are exactly what they are. They're prospects. They're people that we're thinking that can be good, but we're not sure if they're going to be good. But let's see how he does against Christian Rodriguez. And Christian Rodriguez beats him. And although you're looking at them with bigger names because we're looking at them as high-profile prospects, they've proved nothing. They literally have proved nothing. So when you look at his resume, like I got in front of me right now, he loses to Costa, who is something. He's proven to us that he's a good fighter. He beats Bashi, who's really proved nothing. He lost to Rosa, who is kind of a veteran. He beat Bulgarian. He beat Saman. He beat Rosa Jr. Like he lost to Pierce. Like he beat all the prospects and like the prospects. But once he fought like a veteran in there, he didn't really fare that well. You know what I mean? So like, people get caught up in the whole prospect killer thing, but you got to remember what that means. It's not the veteran killer. It's not the championship killer. It's not the black belt hunter. It's the prospect killer. And I think C-Rod is really good. I think he's fundamentally sound. I think he's good everywhere. I think he's got a steady state gas tank. He doesn't really get rambunctious in there. Like he's not like storming in for a finish. He does a lot of the right things. Like he's very kind of mistake free outside of one of his fights where I don't know what the fuck he looked like he didn't want to be there. But when I look at Andre Fili, I look at a guy, we know he's not a prospect. He's 35 years old. He's fought everybody. And I know like I don't look at Alpha Male anymore as like that hardcore wrestling camp like I used to. But at the end of the day, he was there when it was that. When they were really burying their heads in their wrestling and stuff like that. Like he was there for that whole thing. You know what I mean? So he does have very good wrestling, very good counter wrestling. He's got a 70 to 80% takedown defense. And the one thing I do like about Fili is he knows how to fight long. This is a guy who, when he's jabbing, he really opens up. He's not shying away and throwing. Like he opens up and he utilizes his reach. And I like that because he knows how to keep you at the end of his punches. Does he do some bombastic things sometimes? Yeah. Does he put himself in bad positions sometimes? Yes. Can he be caught when he's like coming in with his hands down? He's trying to showboat a little bit. Yes. But I think this is a spot where Andre Fili can absolutely, not so much play chess, but I think keep Christian Rodriguez hunting. And when you keep somebody hunting because you're keeping him outside, you're opening up with your jab, he's going to have about a 3-inch reach advantage here, and you're using footwork, and you're not allowing him to really get what he wants because you have a lot of tools in your pocket where these prospects don't. Then all of a sudden, that's where somebody can start getting sloppy and desperate and looking for any which way but loose to try to fucking get you to where they want to get you. And I think that's where Fili can start capitalizing on him. So as long as he keeps this fight in his wheelhouse, he keeps it where he wants it. He doesn't get baited into what C-Rod wants, because C-Rod's going to want to slow this fight down, get him into a certain position and kind of just not burn the clock, but burn the clock at his peril. Where I think that Fili needs to keep this fight nimble. And I think if he does, I honestly think Fili wins this fight. So I'm going to take Fili to pull off the upset here.
Wow, nice. Okay, we might have some competition for the Benji Boy Dog of the Week then, because I am also on not just leaning toward Fili. I'm on Fili. I fired on him at +2-1. That wasn't his opener, and I feel like that's too high. 2-1 in a fight that's going to be close again. The only way it's not close is if Fili gets subbed, because C-Rod does have good front headlocks a series. And Fili, even though he's got underrated and a really good offense, he's actually got a really good blast double. He will shoot, right? And he has given up subs no matter what excuses or non-excuses or whatever you want to call it I made for him, right? So just being realistic, that is a possibility here, folks. But the analog matchup, and you broke it down beautifully, whether it's prospects or experienced guys, tall guys, right? Fili checks that box. Also guys that fight southpaw. So Costa fights switch stance, but he's been fighting more southpaw lately and having a lot of success. We saw it against Erosa recently, and before that, it was against C-Rod. And in that fight, it was not just the southpaw stuff, but it was also the knees, which we've seen Andre Fili rock guys with his knees as well, right? Not just the height. It's going to be there from the height and frame level matchup, but also like what they do stylistically. And we saw that, C-Rod was, not really built to, he really got rocked good by those. And Fili's been fighting a lot of southpaw lately, because something I noticed, and I'm sure you pick up too, is he does got a good jab. And he really got on his jab the last 5 years or so, right? Like he's really pop, stayed on it. But if you look at it, whether he's getting finished by Brito or like the times where he's gotten rocked in his fights, like deceptively close fights too. Like who did he face? He was winning the round and then until he wasn't. Might have been, was it Swanson or Wood? It might have been actually Nathaniel Wood.
He beats he beats Swanson. Maybe was it Ige maybe? Oh no, it was Nathaniel Wood.
And that's the analog matchup, right? Because Nathaniel Wood is not just a bantamweight coming up, but he's very similar. He's got that like tight technical. Again, C-Rod's more like.
Didn't he? He dropped. He did,
but Wood also rocked him and dropped him in the first. It was because he did the same thing Brito did, and people follow his jab. And it was like a run there of like people following his jab and rocking him. And so in his last couple of fights, you see, and Fili has fought southpaw before, but he's really leaning into the southpaw more, almost because it's almost like he knows that. And I think that's going to serve him well against Christian Rodriguez. Again, tall southpaw experience. Those things have shown to give him trouble. And Fili, I will note, he's not training at up in NorCal for this one. He looks like ever since his last fight, like he moved his family down to Vegas. He's been training at Syndicate, at the PI, cross-training with a bunch of people. And it looks like he's just been dialed in. Like he can't wait to get back to the beach and, go back home after this. But it looked like he really dedicated and moved out here. And he's just determined to get a win. So, yeah, give me Fili 1 unit.
There's a reason you come to the Dogger Pass podcast for your UFC picks, just like there's a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, Morgan & Morgan has been fighting for the people just like you and I. They have over 100 offices and more than 1,000 lawyers nationwide. When hiring Morgan & Morgan, it's like hiring an army that's got your back. If you're injured by the negligence of another, you deserve to be paid. When you hire the wrong law firm, you might be beat before you start. All law firms are not the same. If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/doggerpass or dial pound law, pound 529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/doggerpass or pound law, pound 529 from your cell. This is a paid advertisement.
All right, let's move to the next fight, folks. Pushing on down this main card. We could have another live dog here. This one I'm a little more on the fence about. I'm right in the middle of I'm still right in the middle of study, although I got some stats to throw you away. We got Miles Johns, of course. He is going to be an underdog plus 260 to John Matsumoto, favorite minus 330. I know they opened pretty wide, but I don't think they opened this wide. The totals over 2.5 rounds, minus 275 for the over 2.5 rounds, under 2.5 rounds, plus 215. So they think it's going to decision as well. Before I toss it to you, Mike, I will say Miles Johns 4-1-1 in the Apex. Not too bad there, more of a sample size, whereas John Matsumoto is 2-0. You could be 3-0 in that UFC Apex if you count that Dana White Contender Series fight. But yeah, I want to fire on the dog here. I'm close to picking and playing him. But I'm still not sure. Where are you at? Can you sway me one way or the other, Mike, on this fight?
You know what's crazy, bro, that I noticed, and I've noticed this in a lot of the shows that we do, but I'm noticing it a lot more now. We never talk about fights, really. We do. I mean, we talk, like, especially post-fight, like we call each other, we talk. But I'm saying we've really only talked about the main event. Like when I called you up and I was like, hear me out. We didn't talk about any of these other fights. And every situation that you're telling me that you're in with these fights, I was in the same exact position. It just shows me that our analysis is like we kind of have the same program when it comes to, lining. It's crazy because I'm in the same position as you with this fight. I look at Miles John as a guy who has the skill to win this fight. Like he absolutely can win this fight. If you told me that, Mike, listen, I was on the inside. Yeah, I was on the inside. I've been in camp watching him train. This guy's going to fucking wrestle. He's going to commit to his wrestling. His conditioning looks good. From hell or high water, this guy's going to utilize his wrestling, and that's going to be his ace in his pocket. He's going to throw striking in. He's got to set things up, but his dedication to this fight is going to be wrestling. I would pick Miles Johns. The fact of the matter is you never know what the fuck Miles Johns is going to do. And if Miles Johns decides to stay on the feet, Miles Johns is not a guy who's going to throw punches and bunches. Miles Johns is a guy who knows that he doesn't have that skill set. He doesn't have that skill set to tie 3-4 punches together to set certain things up. He knows he's got to bite down, load up, and really step into something and try to catch you with something. And that's not a good way to fight someone like Matsumoto, because Matsumoto's more about numbers. Matsumoto's going to push forward. He's got a good pace on him. The numbers for Matsumoto is going to be there. I don't know what Miles John's approach is going to be. And that's my biggest problem with him. Fight in and fight out. You never know what Miles Johnson is going to show up, what approach he's going to. Is he going to be a wrestler tonight, or is he going to be a striker tonight? I think if he comes in and he utilizes like a wrestling heavy game plan, like, getting in on his hips, even if he doesn't take him down, just grind on him. Don't let him get loose. If you let Matsumoto get loose and get in space, he is going to fucking chew you up. Don't let him get loose. You gotta tie this guy up. You gotta make him work. You gotta, make him pummel. Try to build that lactic acid where he's shaking out his shoulders a little bit, where you're taking some speed off his volume. I just don't trust Miles Johnson to fucking do that. And it's a shame, because he's got the skill set to do it. If he didn't have the skill set to do it, it'd be very easy. I'd be like, dude, Matsumoto. But he's got it in his toolbox to do it. But the problem is, you just never know if he's going to do it. So as much as I want to pick him here, and I do think he's very live here, I got to go Matsumoto.
Yeah, if I don't fire on him, although they're making me want to do it, as they're going over plus 250 now. I'm seeing plus 260s go up. I mean, he gets not near 3-1. I got to do it. But even if I don't pick him, and I may even just throw him in the round robin, kind of do like what I did with Duncan last week, where, apologies for that, I fucking whiffed on the round robins too. But yeah, throw his money line in there, because it's juicy enough as it is. But here's the thing: it's can he hit? Not depending on the one shot, because you hate that version of Miles Johns where he's just throwing one and looking to load up on the one big shot. And I want to think that he's learned from that, and he's paced himself. He's, even though you want to put, like you said, put together more than 1 or 2 punches, he does have a pretty consistent jab that he puts out there. And then, of course, he's got the threat of the 2, and he changes it up to an uppercut and can kind of read the threats there. Good takedown defense. But I wonder if he hits him hard enough, not to knock Matsumoto out, but to get what Rob Font was getting out of him, where he's just making him wrestle and kind of, throw the fight away. I had Rob Font in that last fight. I think I even had him by decision as well. And yeah, I felt great about that and all this stuff. But I don't want to, ride too high off that and just start discrediting Matsumoto. The dude's obviously got a higher ceiling. He's only 25. But, you wonder who he's training at. Inside Muay Thai. I never really heard of that. Don't really recognize anybody who he's training with on his IG. John's no longer at Fortis, which, I do like a guy like, especially when we're talking about output. I like a guy like Saif Saud in the corner, yelling output and numbers and keeping his guy's foot on the gas, especially for a guy like Johns. But Johns is training with Trey Ogden down in Kansas City, Missouri, the old James Krause camp. Basically, he's with all those guys down there. Looks in great shape, determined. And I'm not a fan of Johns, by the way. He's a guy I've never bet on him. I don't think. By the way, he's a guy I've always looked to fade.
He won me some money.
He's usually a guy I fade. Like, I usually play round 3. Like, I almost hit like a cycle. I had like Woodson KO. I had someone else by decision or inside the distance. And the third leg was Felipe Lima round 3. And he's on Miles Johnson's back in round 3. And I'm like, come on. It would have been massive. But a classic near miss, right? And a lot of times when I went to fade this guy in round 3, he ends up getting the finish in round 3. Credit to Johns, right? Like, he, like what you said, he has those fights where he shows it, right? Like, wow, okay, he shows that he can pace, put it together, pace it like a veteran, and he has all the tools to do it in this spot. So I'm leaning toward Johns for the sake of the show. I'll pick Johns. But I don't know how invested I'm going to be on it. I'm not expecting anybody to follow me off a cliff on this one either, by the way.
So if we don't agree on anything else, we'll
keep it on the table for the shot bet. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do that.
Right.
Sounds good.
Okay.
By the way, I did like John's, and I shout out to my guy from Homo Fight Picks, Hey Jive. I was on his show, and I was on his show yesterday, right, Mike? And I'm like, ooh, I was comparing this to kind of to the Costa fight, right? Where it's like, is this going to be you almost a forgot moment or something, even though it's not the same level nearly as Costa or that level. But as far as like my approach, where I was like, I'm not sure on the show, and then I ended up picking Costa, right? And then I'm like, do I play him? And I'm like, let me do the points handicap minus 150, and I'm like, you know what? The points handicap should cover. So if he should cover, let me take the profit off that potential points handicap, put it on this stupid money line that they're giving for Costa. And then it all ended up hitting. I think I even took Costa by decision in the round robin, right? And part of me was thinking, do I ease my way into this Johns pick? Because they had it at plus money, actually, for the points handicap. Granted, it was plus 100, but it was 3.5 plus 100. I'm like, wow, as long as he doesn't get finished by this guy, I think he can cover that. And then by the time I got off the show, minus 125. It's like, God damn. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not going to I didn't end up jumping on that either, but I did want to throw that out there that, points handicap, what was a consideration. All right.
Yeah, this fight.
Yeah, the next fights I'm gonna be much more quicker on, folks. I have much more to say on those fights, but let's go to Eryk versus Christian Leroy Duncan. Of course, CLD Christian Leroy Duncan is your favorite, minus 600. Come back on your boy Eryk. Rumored and confirmed. Shout out to my guy Dan Levy who confirmed that for me. I think it was supposed to be his retirement fight now. Plus 400 for Anders. Over 2.5 minus 170. Under 2.5 plus 140. This is a fight that this is the only other fight that I think me and Mike talked about, only because I just talked to him about liking this over leg. I like the over minus 170 here. Eryk, obviously the line, people have figured him out now. No disrespect to the guy, nice dude. Interviewed him a bunch. But he kind of fell victim to, he came in, like M. Night Shyamalan, he comes in with the hit with Sixth Sense and the twist ending, and he couldn't hit that again and got crucified for it, right? Maybe not a great analogy there, but he comes in looking the part, right? He's got the football background, and we know how much the MMA space, like their great white hope in MMA is like dudes who played big dudes who play football. Like everybody thinks that's going to save the sport. Promoters just jizz themselves over the thought of it, right? And unfortunately, that hype was with Anders a lot, and was able to do well because of that on the lines you would get on him or against him. But now it's more figured out that he's even if he hurts guys, he just has a bad habit of cage pushing, and it's the most frustrating thing ever. He's just hardwired to push. He'll punch and then push into the cage. That's fine because that actually makes for an over machine because he's really durable. Whereas CLD, he's more what I call like a bit of that leaf blower offense. Shout out to the heavy hands guys. It's like leaf blower offense, right? Where it looks fancy and this and that, but he's not packing that like one shot KO power that's dependable. And it's not like he's got a process like a Volkanovski, a Topuria, or Holloway out there either, right? He's kind of just throwing out shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, and it looks cool. And he's pretty athletic and has good control of his body, so he can do some stuff out there, right? But I'm still not blown away by CLD. I'm going to pick him here, but I like the over here. Hopefully I didn't steal too much of your thunder, Mike, but I just wanted to give my hand on that one before I toss it to you.
No. Listen, with Eryk, I will say something about this. It's not every day that you have the accolades to play for. He played for Alabama, right? Yep. Is that where he played? Alabama? Played for Alabama, and you succeed at that level, playing for Crimson Tide, playing under that program. And then on top of that, it's hard to do that. It's very hard to do that. You're talking about, I'm a lifelong athlete. And then you go to the other side of the spectrum and you make it in the UFC. Not only do you make it there, but you have longevity there. You actually have a career there. So kudos to him for that, man. Like the guy is a tremendous athlete, kudos to, but the thing with Eryk is we always knew what his ceiling was. Like after a while, it was just like, all right, this is where it ends. And it's going to be either you're going to be able to nullify that and kind of fight over that, or he's just going to do exactly what you said. He's going to be able to control you and bully ball you and control you against the cage and stuff like that. The reason why, in my opinion, why he has been doing that more and more often, he's been getting a little bit more, I'm going to jockey for position, I'm going to push you against the cage, I'm going to hold you there, I'm going to bleed the clock, is because, listen, fighters aren't stupid. They're never going to tell you this, but his durability is going. I mean, Chris Weidman's not supposed to drop you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not supposed to happen. Like, Chris Weidman can take you down 5-6 times, but if you're getting dropped by Chris Weidman,
that's
that's a red flag. That's a red flag to me. And I think he knows, like, his durability isn't the greatest. And yeah, he can recover, and he's got the resilience to recover and kind of climb his way back into the fight. But the fact of the matter is like, that is a sign. And he's been dropped before, he's been hurt before. And we know, like, just his style, his striking is very, like, kind of goofy footed. Like, he kind of skips towards you sideways when he's hunting you down. Like, some of the things that he does works and some of it doesn't. But like I said, kudos to him for being here. But when I look at CLD, I look at a guy who we really don't know how good or bad he is still, which is crazy, because it's like, you would think after a couple fights you could really lay a beat on this guy. But I still haven't been able to really lay a full beat on him. I think he's got potential. I'm tired of hearing everybody talk about what a great boxer he is, because, guys, he's not a great boxer. Like, he may be a good boxer for MMA standards, but if you take any of these guys, Adrian Yanez, Rob Font, you take these guys with really slick boxing, you put them in the ring with a really good boxer or above average boxer, they're going to get their fucking clock cleaned. It's a completely different dynamic. So does he have good striking? Yeah, he's got good striking, but he doesn't show it all the time. Like, it's not like he goes in there and he shows us, like, if it's a 15-minute fight, you're looking at Adrian Yanez dig into the body and doing all these things where we're like, wow, that was beautiful to watch. He doesn't really do that. He's more of an athletic guy with a little bit of speed. He's got some good bounce. He's got some decent volume, but I just still can't lay a full beat on him. Like, it's like, I can see Eryk Anders necking him up against the cage for 15 minutes and him not being able to do much about it. But I think all in all, if this the smart pick, even though I think that line is ludicrous, I think the smart pick is just the speed of CLD, the fresh legs of CLD, the movement of him, the ability to probably throw 3 to 4 punches to Eryk Anders is one. The activity, I think all that's going to play into this role. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to say Christian Leroy Duncan finishes him in this fight.
Now I'm nervous about my over, man. You brought up some really good points there. The Weidman fight's definitely a bad look, and that is my one worry. Part of me feels like it was also a very uncharacteristic fight from both guys, and part of it was both of them kind of going for the finish. That really just left them out there to dry as far as leaving nothing in the tank. You had the live crowd going, all these things that you're not necessarily going to have here, and maybe I'm hoping for that overcorrection of that often happens, right? When you have a fight where you're like, oh, fuck, I don't want that to happen again. Let me fight safe now. Oh, getting tired, getting finished. Oh, that's the worst, right? Because it was more of a, it was a bad look. Don't get me wrong, but it was definitely, more exhaustion. I think that led to a lot of the damage taken and finish. But yeah, man, I'm nervous as shit because there's not a lot that I like on this card. And I wanted to stick to dog hunting, but the one thing that I did, I don't like doing cash outs or anything like that. But the one thing again that I did parlay was this over to Hernandez money line at plus 107 for just a 1.5. Because again, I have all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 approach that I wanted to take that I'm sure everyone and their mother is going to take, and I want some coverage on that in case it's like a slogging decision in the main and this over hits. But yeah, man, it definitely couldn't hit for sure. So I don't feel great about it. Again, don't follow me off a cliff, folks. Just telling you where I landed on this one. But yeah, if he got a finish, it wouldn't surprise me. And part of me is nervous because it's like, again, I wish I had like, finishes in rounds 2 or 3 combo to hedge out, but I don't have that. So I would have to really expose myself by either picking around or sprinkling on 2 rounds. And you don't want to get sloppy where you're hedging every play on the board or trying to. You just running into fucking trouble and you're really asking for it. So, it's ride or die with this one. I don't expect or want anybody to be, following me off the cliffs that I jump off of, but that's what I'm seeing for this one. Let's move on to the next fight. We got Julius Walker versus Rafael Cerqueira. Not much to say about this because, we really haven't gotten to see too much from each guy. I mean, we got a 3-round fight from Walker, of course. And I remember taking him by sub in that fight with Menefield because it was going to be I figured it was going to be a sloppy fight. And this guy, for a big guy, moves decently well. He doesn't have like jiu-jitsu accolades or anything, but Walker moves pretty well. We got Walker minus 700 plus 450 the comeback on Cerqueira, over 1.5 plus 180, under 1.5 minus 220. But yeah, Walker, there's a lot of good things being said about him from behind the scenes. Talking to Anthony Smith, who's trained with him, and Anthony was telling me this is one of those guys where, some guys are bigger than what you realize, and he was like, I did not realize how big Julius Walker is. Roman Kopylov, who just fought, folks, he's another one of those guys. Maybe because he's like Chase Hooper coded. We think he's the scrawny middleweight, but he's actually like surprisingly big. And I guess Julius Walker very much the same way, and he moves well for a big guy too. So if you're trying to gauge potential, I know you know this, Mike. If a guy, it's not just looking good getting off the bus. It's can he move athletically, right? And I don't know if I want to say he's a super athlete. I don't think he is by any means. But as far as can he do movements and that have got him some of his submissions in the past, like sure. And I feel like that's like a tricky look here. Except the only thing is Cerqueira, he's the guy that just folds, man. He backs up to the cage, and boy, he did not look. Not that his regional tape looked great, but you see him in these last couple UFC fights, and there's just nothing there, man. So I'm not surprised to see the line where it's at, but this feels like a cheeky submission flyer or pass fight for me.
Yeah, I mean, I got much to say to this. The only thing I will say is I said this a couple times, like me all the time, no chin, no win. And basically it's the truth, man. You don't got a chin, you ain't gonna win. And this is a clear cut. I don't care if he, like, you could say, what if he makes leaps and bounds in this fight? What if he looks fantastic in this fight? Maybe he does. But at the end of the day, making leaps and bounds does not grow you a beard. This dude folds. Like, this dude fucking folds. And this guy is a product of the UFC hectic schedule, with them needing bodies, with them needing to fill up roster spots. Because if the UFC was throwing two fights a month, this guy would not be on the roster. Like, he just would not be on the roster. Would Julius Walker be on the roster? I don't know. But I look at him as a more athletic fighter. I look at him as somebody, at least the UFC has something to work with him. I mean, he fought Menafield. He had a good showing. He had a good account of himself in that fight. And despite what you say about Menafield, I think he's a little underrated. I think Menafield is okay. I think he's, he's another guy who's had a career in the UFC, So, he didn't look bad. He had a decent showing for himself in that fight, even though he lost. This is a fight I honestly think, like, it's going to be a matter of time before Cerqueira walks in onto a grenade, or, like you said, gets subbed or something like that. So give me Walker inside the distance here.
All right. Not much to say about that one. Let's move on to the next fight. I'm curious your thoughts on this one. We got Elijah Smith taking on Toshiomi Kazama. Now, I mean, I don't know how much curious we can be when he's Smith is minus 800 favorite, and the comeback on Kazama plus 500. Over 1.5, they're expecting violence here, plus 110 for the over 1.5 rounds, under 1.5, minus 140. I liked Elijah Smith coming off the contender series. I wrote him off fairly well. And Kazama seems like, as guys I respect on the internet say, enhancement talent. He's there to enhance other talent. And this looks like a classic case of that, Mike. So what do you make of it? And is there anything to any meat on the bone, even from a betting angle here?
Nah, not for me. I mean, the thing with Elijah Smith, I'll say, like, obviously we all know that his father trains him, former UFC fighter. You could see his father's got great genetics, which means he has great genetics. He's a really great athlete. The only problem I do have with Elijah Smith is, and I'm not saying he's not confident, but I'm saying sometimes he seems a little bit timid. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes he's uncertain in there. Could be a confidence thing, could be a nervous thing, but if he would just let go, his potential is really high. Like, I do like this kid. I really do. I think he's got a lot of potential. And I think this is a fight that the UFC is kind of just putting at his feet, saying, look, this could get a little dirty, but there's no reason why you shouldn't finish this kid. So I think he has a big showing Saturday night, Elijah Smith. I think he gets a really big win, possibly a nice finish as well. So I'm going to pick him inside the distance.
Yeah, I think he wins inside the distance as well. I want to say that I did like the under, and it's come down. I liked it at minus 155, but I ended up taking a different total, which we'll go with. But I'm looking at it now, and I'm you guys are probably getting better numbers than me, but I hate unders and I hate under 1.5s, but again, I feel like this is the classic enhancement talent spot, right? And I feel like, I don't know, man, that minus 140 in hindsight compared to the minus 700 or 800 on Elijah Smith, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and I'm sure it's almost 3-1 for inside the distance. I'm guessing it's probably like a minus 250 or something, right? So yeah, I don't know. What do you think of that under before we move on, Mike?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I think, like I said, I think it really like Elijah Smith. I love it. I wish he would just come in and just let it go. It's like sometimes I feel like he's a little reserved. If he comes in and lets it go, he's explosive. This kid, bro. He's an athlete. He can get him out of there pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah. This isn't like the Vince Morales fight, who is underrated despite being a dog and having, a losing record, by the way. That was actually a big step up. So you hope that Elijah Smith, like you said, lets it go, as opposed to kind of a fear I talked about with that potential over, where they're like, ooh, even in a victory, you can get scared off, right? Where you're like, ooh, I got tired there. I don't want that again. I want to fight safe now, right? That was closer than I thought. I got to fight safe now. And as much as you could appreciate that, this is probably not the guy where you have to worry about that too much. Because I'm probably not the guy that's going to tax you. So yeah, let's move on to the next fight here. We'll keep an eye out on that under, see where that line goes. But we got Joselyne Edwards, I believe, in this next fight, correct? Versus Priscila Cachoeira. Edwards minus 350 favorite. The comeback on Cachoeira, hashtag catch a beating, plus 270. Yeah, man. Maybe it's because Priscilla follows me for whatever reason on Instagram. Or perhaps it's because the couple spots where she has won, I threw like half-hearted dog shots on and cashed. I always have a soft spot for her, Mike. However, she's facing Edwards, who is on a run, but it is against not as durable, not as tested competition as Cachoeira, but she has been, back to what I said about training with a healthy slew and stable, back to the Piera Rodriguez example. She's been training the Extreme Couture for quite a few camps now. Not an Eryk Nixick product. She trains under Nate Pettit, who handles fighters like Tatiana Suarez, Patchy Mix, some of the other fighters there, but she's training with a good slew of girls over at the gym. Has been showing improvements, but a hard fighter to get a beat on with Joselyne Edwards. And I don't know if a fighter you want to run out and bet on, much less at chalk. I'm leaning toward her for a pick here, but this feels like a classic dog or pass spot to me. What do you think, Mike?
Joselyne Edwards with the melon butt. She's got a melon butt, that girl.
It's
so, yeah, I mean, especially when she gets in top position and all of a sudden it just like smothers the camera. Right. I like when she gets to know. I like when they, right? I'm just sitting there. I'm like, come on, Joselyne, take her down, will you? So the thing with Cachoeira is, I agree with you, dude. Like, I hear you laughing. She's tough, man. She's tough. And the one thing that always stands out to me is how she got like literally violated by Valentina when that fight should have been stopped. Like, I mean, how many times should that fight have been fucked? It was like a travesty watching that. I think Dana White felt like terrible about it. And she's tough, man. There's no quitting her. You can finish her, sure. You can sub her, you can knock her out, you can finish her, absolutely. But the fact of the matter is, when she comes in, she's gonna fight. Whether she's completely outmatched or outgunned, she's gonna come in and she's gonna give you whatever she has to give. And that much you have to respect about her. And that's probably why she's on the resume. It's still on the roster. When I look at Joselyne Edwards, I think there's a lot of things that come into play here with her. I always liked her. I always thought she had potential. I always thought she did some nice things, but I was like, there's something missing. Like, there's something missing. And then she starts nosing around with Valentina Shevchenko, where they've become very nosy. And when you're around greatness that much, when you're around legends that much, that does rub off on you. Like, if you really want it to, that does rub off on you. You hold yourself to a higher standard. You try to not to compete with your friends, but you try to kind of, keep up to that level. She has kind of switched her game, and like, she's switched it for the better. Like, she knows now when it's time to take the fight to the ground, I'm going to take the fight to the ground. She picks and chooses her spots really well. Her striking is good. She's becoming a little bit more violent. And like you said, I agree with you. The level of opposition isn't the greatest, but that's also not her fault. She's just signing the dotted line. I honestly think, I got to go on the other side. Maybe this one might be the one. I honestly think this is a fight where she puts a beating on Cachoeira. I'm pretty confident in her in this spot. I think it's going to be a situation where Cachoeira is going to look good until she looks terrible, until it's like she's going to try to survive. She's going to try to live to see the end of the round. But I could see a position where like Edwards gets like full mount on her and just starts letting loose on her, and finishes the fight. So I'm going to go Edwards inside the distance here.
Nice. I wonder what that line is. I'm not rushing to play this fight. I am picking Edwards, but I just don't feel confident playing her.
Oh, you are picking Edwards.
Yeah. I just feel like
I thought you said okay.
No, I got respect for Cachoeira, and feels like it could be a dog
Me
or pass
too.
from a betting perspective. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not in a rush to bet it, so I'm not too passionate about this one. So don't listen to me on this.
Well, the under 2.5 is plus 165.
So you got to get some plus money for that inside the distance for Edwards. If anybody wants
so
to
it's
take a stab at that.
Over. Yeah, but we'll see. Maybe you could do even like a group round thing. We'll see. But yeah, I'm definitely interested. She's become, like I said, she's become a little bit more violent, and I like that.
All right, let's go to speaking of violent, let's go to the next fight. We got two violent guys, or whenever I see Uros Medic, wild and crazy guys. Minus 140 for Uros Medic. The comeback on Gilbert Urbina plus 325. Total set for 1.5 rounds, because again, they're expecting some violence here. Over 1.5 is plus 120. Under 1.5 minus 150. Is this another one where you look to take the discount? It's too hard to play Medic by KO or Medic money line, so you just play the under and hope they get it done under 1.5? Or does Medic come out and try to fight smarter, which is a worry of mine? But that being said, here's my thing. I feel like both these guys have to fight smart, because even if one of these guys get the idea in their head to fight safe and correct the steering wheel, like we've been talking about this quiet theme, Mike, it all goes to shit if the other guy comes out and fights like he normally fights, because he's going to bring the dog right out of the other guy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. What do you got here? Obviously, I'm leaning toward the favorite here. Urbina, by the way, 0-0 against UFC level lefties. So I'm going to look at his tough fights against the Michael Moore guy. I don't remember that, and his Contender Series fight. But yeah, no UFC level lefties. What do you got for this fight as far as bets and picks go?
Yeah, this is a list for. I think the Medic. I mean, I wouldn't even time it to a parlay at this point. And it's not because I don't think he's going to win the fight. I do. I think Medic out 10 out of 10 times. If he comes in and fights his fight, he wins this fight. I know people look at Urbina like, well, he comes from a fighting lineage, his family and stuff like that. That doesn't mean anything. It means something a little bit, but it doesn't really mean much. He's kind of a sloppy, chaotic fighter, and the problem with Medic is he can get that way too. He can kind of get a little overzealous. He can kind of overextend. He can kind of leave his defensive liabilities exposed, and that's where he gets himself into trouble. But if Medic comes in and fights his fight, I could see him looking minus 400 in this fight. Like, I just don't think that Urbina has anything for Medic if Medic doesn't make a litany of mistakes. Like, he's gotta come in, fight his fight. Don't get baited into chaos. Don't get baited into what Gilbert Urbina wants to do. Go in there and make him fight your fight. And if he does that, I don't see him losing. So I like Medic here, but like I said, it's dangerous, because I'm talking about the talent Medic. I'm not talking about what's going to happen. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you do something fucking dumb in there, you start fighting the wrong fight, you're gonna lose. So I think talent-wise, he's the clear-cut side, but I do have my trepidations on him doing the right thing. But I'm additionally going to go Medic for by knockout.
Yeah, I don't think Urbina can expose Medic the way Puna did on the ground, which I did pick, by the way. I know I'm biased for my guy Puna, but it did come through there. And how about my old man reference there? Did you catch that old man 1970s SNL super relevant reference I just dropped on the kids' mic?
On what? Wait, I didn't hear it.
Medic reminds me of that Dan Aykroyd, Steve Martin skit, the wild and crazy guys.
Oh yeah, wild and crazy guys. Yeah, he does. I
remember at a history project where we had to do the decades, and my group got assigned the 70s, and we basically just did SNL skits because we had some Slavic kid, some poor exchange student. His name was Slavisa too, of course. The Slavic kid is named Slavisa. Could barely speak English, and we made him fucking dress up like Dan Aykroyd and Steve Martin and do the wild and crazy guys thing for like half the video. It was so stupid. It was like one of those drawn out humor things where they're just like, is he just gonna keep doing this? We had it like for 5 minutes of the 8-minute required video. Yeah, we failed, of course. We failed, but it was fun. It was fun. Shout out to Slavisa.
That was when SNL was good, dude. That's when SNL had young Chevy Chase. Yeah. That's when it was good.
Mr. Robinson. How about Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood? Eddie Murphy. Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood was the shit. Yes.
Yeah. James Brown hot tub. Yep. Remember that?
And we just lost half the audience. So let's push on. Kid's like, yeah, exactly. I was born in 90. I was born in 98, you jerk. Yeah. Or 2000s now. If you're born in the 90s, you're old now, I guess. Jesus. But Yeah. Let's go to Gabrielle Fernandes and Julija Stoliarenko. I don't think they were born in the 2000s, but we'll see. Of course, we got Gabby Fernandez minus 450. The comeback on Julija Stoliarenko plus 325, or as I call and many call Stoliarenko. And I like to say stink in anything because my dog over here is Stinkum from The Wire. So she's probably a Stoliarenko fan as a dog. Are you a fan of the dog, by the way? Stoliarenko, by the way, she is technically 1-0 against UFC level lefties, but that one comes against Chelsea Chandler in a fight. Well, Chelsea Chandler, I shouldn't have to say more, but in a fight where that, it was standing for about 12.3 seconds. Yeah. What do you got for this fight, Mike?
I mean, listen, if you're gonna from a DraftKings perspective, first off, if you're looking for like a GPP flyer, you go Stoliarenko because her only really real path here is probably first round armbar. You know what I mean? Like that's her path right there, like first round submission or bust. Wagering the same thing. If you guys really believe that she's going to do it, then that's when she's going to do it, and that's where the value is going to lie for her. But outside of that, like, what else is she going to do? Her striking is fucking putrid. Like, she's really got nothing else. She's committed to that armbar. Like, that's what she's committed to. And if she doesn't get it, she's pretty much fucking dead in the water. So I can't pick her on that. I can't pick her saying, you know what, my win probability is going to be, the first 5 minutes by submission. But after that, the fight's kind of going to just slip out of her hands because she's really not good with anything else. Then they get slippery. Then they get wet. Then it's harder to latch on. And it's just like it all starts going away as the fight clock drips. So I got to go Fernandes here. I mean, it's female MMA. Anything can happen. But I think if she could stay out of that danger, if she stays out of the guard, if she protects her limbs, I find no reason why she doesn't win this fight.
Man, yeah, I don't disagree. I'm actually a fan of Hernandez again. Remember, I was a fan of Judice, folks, and so that loss should age well. Two southpaws going at it. She's a very physical southpaw again. I'm not saying she's going to be champ or top 5 or anything like that, but Mike, as you know, physicality and athleticism and power accounts for a lot more at these women's divisions because a lot of them just don't have it. We've seen that you see that take girls to championships even, right? And I'm not even saying that for Fernandez, but she does have those attributes. So that immediately puts her a notch up regardless of how you're breaking down a fight. That gives her an inherent edge. And my angle here is Stoliarenko is basically round 1 or bust. So I'm looking at rounds 2 or 3. They haven't dropped yet. I'm waiting for better odds. You can do like a 0.37 on a round 2 and a 0.33 for the odds that you're getting on earlier houses. But again, it's not as good numbers. And they're going to bait you into going, take her by TKO when Fernandez actually has submissions on her records. I feel like the only thing worth sprinkling for me is like rounds 2 or 3. I might target for a little shotgun sprinkle to try to get a unit or ideally a unit and a half profit if either one of those hit. Kind of line up my units that way. All right, let's go to the lastly but not leastly, the late edition, Cody Brundage versus Eryk McConaughey, who I always want to call Eryk McConaughey. Maybe if he goes to prison, that'll be his nickname, Eryk McConaughey. I mean, that'll keep you away. That'll keep you safe in the showers, right, Mike? Minus 195 for Brundage. Comeback on McConaughey. Plus 165 for Eryk. Totals 1.5 rounds, expecting violence for this last-minute fight. That probably would be a 1.5 total set, even if this was a full camp at 185, which it is a short camp at 205, folks. Minus 115 for the over 1.5, minus 105 for the under 1.5. Wow, I wish I got those numbers because this was an under I ended up firing on. I was talking to my guy Hey Jive, and just kind of, I was caught up in the moment, and I fired live on it. It sounded good as we were talking on the show, and I fired live at minus 125. I thought it was decent. If you can get it minus 105, I mean, that's a even better number. Not that I'm saying you need to play that. It could be a trap. I hate unders, and here I am playing an under again, Mike. Here I am. Take a shot, folks. Dan saying he hates unders, and he's on an under. But again, it's more for me, and McConaughey is more of a grinder who does stuff late, and him in rounds 2 or 3 is I think really tempting here if you're going to play the McConaughey side, which I think I might look to do, especially as insurance. If the under doesn't hit, I favor a grinder guy, a grinder jiu-jitsu cage, grinder guy like a Mechanico than a guy who kind of folds and looks for any excuse kind of get out of there like Brundage, who I was a defender of Brundage, but then he just is a serial habitual freaking anytime he gets hit with a significant strike, he looks to the ref. He's like, that was a foul. That wasn't fair. And it fucks up the whole fight. And I shouldn't be betting this fight because it's a last minute ad. It's a Cody Brundage fight. But Mike, I'm on the under. I'm looking to sprinkle rounds 2 and 3 Mechanico. And I'm probably going to officially pick the dog in a fight that's just bullshit anyways. But talk some sense into me. Do you even take this fight seriously? What do you got?
Well, before I go, we got somebody that's agreeing with you for the very first, the producer himself, the man of the hour, the man who cannot be he can be imitated, but he can't be duplicated. Dayton, show what you got as your fucking first dog pick of the week, son.
Oh,
there it is.
Look at that graphic. Dayton's dog pick of the week.
It's a nice graphic.
Dayton, talk to us.
Dayton, you want to tell us? You want to tell us what the deal with this is? Why you picked him?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess first off, this guy's old. I wouldn't say he's in his athletic prime right now. He's only in his second UFC fight. He's coming off a loss, and every week I come on here, you guys are talking. This guy shouldn't lose to Cody Brundage. This guy shouldn't lose to Cody Brundage. How the fuck did this guy lose to Cody Brundage? And so I mean, like, I looked at it and I was like, oh, here's Cody Brundage. Let's go against Cody Brundage here. So that's my thought on this one.
All right, we got to start keeping track of this,
Yep.
Dan Tom. We got to keep track of his official dog record.
I'm writing it down.
So you both are on Mechanico, which listen, I can't disagree because if on any card, if there's going to be a travesty on a card, if there's going to be something wild that happens, consider it a Cody Brundage fight. I mean, from no contest to fucking just the most maniacal, bizarre things happens in this kid's fights. I mean, you can almost. I wish there was a prop like that you could bet like a maniacal thing to happen. Yes. Like I would bet it every fight just to take it, as a prop. But here's the thing, man. Like, as much as everything that we say, like, you can't lose to Cody Brundage. You can't lose to Cody Brundage. Like, yeah, you can't lose to Cody Brundage if you're like a prospect or if you're somebody that you're looking to make a surge or make a run. Like, you can't lose to Cody Brundage. But Mechanico is really not in that spot right now. Like, he's not a guy who, like, if he beats Cody Brundage, all of a sudden we're gonna be, oh, bro, this fucking guy Mechanico. Like, we're not gonna be talking to him about him like that. So, when you look at the level of opposition, like they've done Brundage no favors, bro. Like they've really done him no favors. They've fed him to people. They've never really gave him a fight where they're like, here, bro, like go out there and just do what you got to do. And I'm not saying that this is that fight, but to me, this is a very winnable fight for him in an aspect of like, not that he's gonna run roughshod on him, but I think he could win this fight fairly comfortably if he comes out and he does what he's capable of doing. I don't trust him. I wouldn't lay 160. It's my sitting at 160 right now. I would not lay. Like when you look at the level of opposition, all the shit that this kid's been through, as far as like just even late minute notices and the level and some of the fighters that he fought, some of the beatings that he took, I think he's just a little bit more weathered and worn and ready for a spot to, like, if it does get slimy and dirty, I think he really should know. Like this is I've been down this road before. Like I should be able to squeak this one out. So I'm gonna go Brundage. I'm not comfortable about it. I'm on an island here, I know. But like I said, I haven't seen enough from Mechanico to pick against Brundage here.
I am such a trash can for like playing this fight, Mike. But I feel better that Dayton is on the dog side at least with me, so I'm not completely alone. But yeah, you're not crazy for picking Brundage here. It's just we're crazy for even playing this fight. You really shouldn't. But I'm probably gonna look at Mechanico rounds 2 and 3, especially since I already fired on this damn under. A couple other unders I might consider, which were the Matsumoto. Oh, not the Matsumoto, was the enhancement talent fight. The Kazama versus Elijah Smith fight, and Medic versus Urbina. Part of me tells me that might hit as well, but I don't think I'll quite get to those. Let's recap it. All right, let's recap it from the top, and then we'll cook. We're Well, you know what? Before we recap, we should probably cook the DOP parlay. Should we not, Mike?
Yeah, I got my dog as far as the plus money pay. I actually got 2 of them. I'll tell you both of them, and then we can decide which one you like better. I got Angela Hill by decision plus 185.
Okay,
that's a nice plus money bet.
I like it.
And I got Andre Fili by decision at plus 300.
Oh, I like that.
C-Rod's durable. C-Rod's durable. You're not just going to get him out of there. So if we're on the consensus side of both of these fighters, like, I wouldn't mind taking a shot on both of them in the parlay. You're looking at plus 1040 if you tie those 2 together.
So
and then if you add 2 more to that.
So I will say we got greedy last week.
We did get greedy.
And it cost us because we were right on the fighters, but Ribovic didn't get the KO, which he almost did. And again, I fucking jinxed the hell out of that sub, did I not? I would say I'm okay with getting greedy on Hill by decision, but with Fili,
okay,
I feel like we can still take his money line and get some money out of there. Which one of those is our dog of the week? Because it's between those 2, right? Those are our consensus dogs.
What do you think? Are you think it's either going to be Angela Hill by decision or Fili straight up?
Let's make Fili the dog of the week because Fili lost a dog recently and one of his best friends. And he just, he's a hardcore kid like me. Me and Fili feel like very much alike. So I will put my hopes and dreams there. Although I will say, and the odds probably indicate that Hill probably has a slightly better chance of coming through as the Benji Boy dog of the week, which we need to hit one of those too. But yeah, let's throw in the DOP parlay. What if we did 2 dogs and a favorite or something? Huh? Just got crazy there.
Whatever fucking Fili. Tickles our nutsack. Yeah, we got. Fili.
What is? I don't want to get too cute, but what is Erceg inside the distance to get coverage on both?
Erceg inside the distance.
I don't have a house that available that'll let me parlay this right now, so I'll be coming late to this party.
Exactly. Double chance to win by finish. Here we go. To win by Erceg to win by finish is. Oh, it's not even. It's got to be on here. Oh, it's not in here. Oh, it's not in here. Hold on a second. Let me see if they have the actual method.
I'll check BOL, even though they won't let me parlay it. But let's see what they got for listing Erceg inside the distance. Minus 165. So
inside the minus 165.
Yeah, I know. They're making you fucking pay for that. What's another low? What's another lower chalk line though that we feel confident on? Because it sure as shit ain't any money lines on this card, especially who they're attached to, right?
We're agreement on that. I mean, we could do
that gets us to like, and then at least plus 1,200 or more. A plus minus 165 inside the distance, plus 185 Hill by decision, and then I'm guessing plus 185 for Fili money line. I know you could probably get it at plus 2-1 at places, but
so we're gonna go Angela Hill. We're taking Angela Hill. I thought we weren't.
No, by decision. I felt like that was the one we can get cute on. I just wasn't comfortable doing Fili by decision. I feel like Fili's.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like having Fili in there is risky enough. But if we did a 3-legger with 2 dogs and a favorite line.
Yeah, so hold on a second. To win by decision is plus 185. That brings us to plus 755 with those 2 legs. So now if you add Erceg, you want Erceg in there?
Yeah.
Erceg is going to be so if I'm going to have to click it like this here. So oh no, that's not going to work. What the fuck is going on here? Click out of here. There we go. You're looking at excuse me, plus 1410.
Oh wow, you get an even better number for what you're getting. Yeah. Again, man, I know you're not crazy about the Erceg line, but there's really not much to be crazy about for slight chalk. I mean, we'd probably
I just put it in there.
Yeah. Okay. Are you down with that? Do you think it's good as is? Let's just keep it to 3. And
Er,
so I think
Erceg by
Erceg can
decision.
finish.
Erceg.
Erceg inside. I think Hill can get a decision, and we just need to make sure that first leg comes through a Fili. Rain, sleet, or snow. Just come through any way possible, by any means necessary. What does that?
You want to add one
sound?
chalk? Want to add one chalk in there?
What would you add?
Let's
go.
Let's just say we did that. If we add Fluffy on there, we're at plus 1,700.
I'm down if you are, man. I like the number 17.
Yeah,
I got it tattooed on
me.
me.
I mean, these are Hail Mary plays, dude. I mean, this ain't,
yeah.
We're not, I mean, they're Hail Mary plays.
And Fili will be the Benji Boy dog of the week. The Dayton dog of the week is Meconico. #Meconical. You got your Meconical?
Yo, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have that as our bet of the week, and fucking you and Dayton have to do a shot if you lose, both of you guys.
That's way better. Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Dayton, you down for that? What is he playing with himself? Where are you?
He is.
No, I got it. I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bring your brown liquor to work next week, Dayton. We might be needing it, buddy. We might be needing it. We might be getting our Meconical, but I'm riding with you.
He's gonna have to go on he's gonna have to show us though backstage that he's got liquor. I don't fucking trust it. He's drinking tap water or something.
Yep. Yeah. We're gonna have to audit him before the show. All right, cool. Let's recap all the picks and plays and get out of here. We're both taking Fluffy Hernandez, though. I'm definitely gonna have some Dolidze in there early just to hedge, and also I'd be happy if my guys win again from Extreme Couture. We're both picking Erceg. We're just not crazy about the money line. I'll be looking for a sub. We got the inside the distance leg there for the DOP parlay. We both like Hill. So she is definitely one of the dogs of the week. I'm on her at plus 175 for a unit. We both like Fili. He is the Benji Boy dog of the week. We're due. Let's go Fili. Pizza for Fili. I love C-Rod, but we could use Fili in the spot. He's also a DOP leg. We're split on Matsumoto and Johns. I'm not like full throttle Johns all the way to the bank, but I'm probably going to at the very least put him in a round robin there. I'm curious to see what my guy Madlab ends up on, if he ends up on any plays on the other side on that one. We both like CLD Christian Leroy Duncan. Mike likes him inside the distance. I got it in an over parlayed with Fluffy, so I do not like that, especially after talking to my guy Mike, which I always love doing. And we both like Walker over Cerqueira. Not much to say there. We both like Smith over Kazama. Not much to say there outside of the under 1.5 being live. We both like Edwards over Cachoeira. Mike, though, is a bit more bullish on me in that one. He likes her inside the distance. We both are taking Medic over Urbina, but we really don't like that fight. The under is maybe the only thing you can really play. In my eyes, we both like Gabriella Fernandes. I'm going to be looking to play her in rounds 2 or 3. And again, the shot bet. Mike's got Brundage. I've got Meconico/Meconical with Dayton. So we'll have a trifecta shot bet on the line. I took the under. And because I'm stupidly took the under, I'm probably going to have to stupidly sprinkle on Meconico rounds 2 and 3 as a potential catch for some plus numbers. Mike, what do you got to say before we get out of here, man?
Nothing, man. I'm loving doing the show with you every week. It's actually made my game a lot better, bro. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Just talking to you and banging heads with you, and you talk me onto things, you talk me off of things. So, or sometimes you just reassure me of things, like when I'm like, I wonder what he thinks about this, and then you come back, and it's honestly made my content a lot better. Like if you go into the content that I've been doing, it's like it's so much more thick, so much more dense, so much more, and it's become so much more accurate. Like we're on literally a run. I think we had one losing week in like 7 weeks, 8 weeks, nice, and I was in a little bit of a slump. I'm transparent, man. I was in a little bit of a slump for about a month and a half, where it was like right side, wrong method of victory. It was like everything that can go wrong was going wrong. And then it just started fucking clicking. And now, like I said, I feel more confident when I'm putting my bets in after I do this show with you. So yeah, other than that, fucking Madlab versus the world, me versus Dayton and fucking and Dan Tom, they're gonna be drinking booze, and I'm gonna be drinking espresso.
All right, let's go, buddy. You've been sharp as shit lately, man. So hearing, you throw some credit my way, even if it's just small, I'm happy to help, man. Hopefully both me and Mike can help you guys cash some picks and plays. So, thank you, Dayton, again. Great job. We're going to make sure to bring our brown liquor next week. Follow me at Dan Tom MMA. Of course, I got the fight day main card breakdowns that drop at MMA Junkie. Got the in-depth breakdown that drops at MMA Junkie. No official Southpaw report at Home of Fight this week, but on my Substack, if you guys missed any of the Southpaw stats or any of the APAC stats that I missed that I have written down here, I'm going to go ahead and list those out for you guys. So you guys have all those stats on my Substack, which you can sign up for free at Dan Tom MMA. Instagram at Dan Tom MMA. It's all at Dan Tom MMA and at Madlab MMA. Sign up for his stuff at the Madlab.
Yeah, I got one last thing.
.com. Go ahead.
I got one last thing, guys. I do something every week called the Transparency Report. It's free. There's no charge to it. You just go to my site, you sign in for the email, you put it in the newsletter, and every week what we do is, whether you remember or not, you get this. We give you a transparent report of how we did during the week. So if we got bludgeoned that week, you're going to see a transparent report on it. If we have a good week, you'll see a transparency report on it. So every week it's called the Transparency Report. So just go to the madlabmma.com. There's a newsletter section. Put your name in, and every single week, usually Monday or Tuesday, we send out the Transparency Report. So check that out at least.
Although it's the blueprint that you really want. You want the man's blueprint. But listen, folks, hopefully we helped you blueprint your own plays. Good luck on your picks and plays. And always protect your neck.
Oh, oh, oh. Oh.